Welcome back. Well, I'm on the wrong side of the truck. But there's a reason for that. So, we'll go over this shortly, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. The front is no longer on a jack stand, we'll put it that way. So I'm pretty excited to show you that. But there's a big problem right now. The front is by no means adjusted or anything, it's just assembled. But the rear is still stock, so the truck has like a really insane angle. And not like a cool angle, it's just a silly angle. So, I got a really basic little kit. This is from Beltec. And it's just a 2-inch lowering kit. So, it's going to take me just a couple of minutes to throw this on. This is really, really simple. If you want to lower your truck and you're looking for an inexpensive way of doing it, at least in the back, this is like super easy. Super, super easy. So we're going to do this. It should, if my calculations are correct, if my measuring is correct, it should still have a little bit of rake, because I like the way the truck looks with a little bit of rake. It actually has rake from the factory, and I just think it looks cool. So I'm going to keep it, hopefully at about the same angle-ish. But we got to make the rear match the front, at least this year. This is literally probably only going to get used for a single year. And then after that, I've got a proper 3-link with a Watts link and more coilovers, and all of those goodies are going to go onto the back. But I want to drive the truck. So this is my, for now, 1 year, next winter when it's too cold to drive the truck. She's coming back. She's coming back apart. All of this is going to be switched out, and then it'll have a proper suspension all the way around front and rear. But let's get to work. Well, got the suspension pretty much all put together and encountered a really stupid problem. Didn't notice this until I got the entire control arm completely built. But if I put this knuckle on here, you can see where the hole is, and it's kind of fairly far down. When I go to tighten the castle nut on it, you can't put a pin through that. Kind of remarkable that the ball joint is wrong on an arm that is clearly correct for the vehicle. I don't know how you do that. Way to go, Delphi. But I've got the solution. This is a Moog ball joint, and this is the other side that we've already swapped out. And you can really see the difference. So this is the old one that has a problem, and this is a brand new one. The other thing that's stupid about this is the ball joint on this side, the old one, on the bottom, where like the very bottom of the knuckle rest is 1 millimeter wider. So it ends up sitting slightly up. So that like multiplies the problem. But Moog has it correct. The other nice thing about Moog, it's serviceable. It comes with a little grease zert that'll go there, where this one's not. So better part, clearly higher quality, but certainly a setback. That kicked me back about a week getting this thing fully assembled. Oh well, at least it's easy enough to solve. Just more money. truck is on the ground. Now we just need to finish assembling this thing, put the engine and transmission back in it. It goes off to SCR Performance in Loveland, Colorado to get an alignment that's kind of performance oriented. And it's a truck again. So I love the way this thing looks. Fundamentally changed the stance of the truck. Colorado roads are terrible. We have huge potholes and all kinds of stuff. This thing is driven on dirt roads sometimes and stuff, so I can't go super low, and I actually kind of don't really like the way that super low stuff looks anyway. So I was trying to kind of catch a balance between what's practical and useful, and I can drive it everywhere without being afraid of damaging it, and also you know, lower for performance and better looks and stuff like that. Obviously the front end is going to sink down a little bit with the engine and transmission in it. So it'll go down a little bit more, and it'll give it a little bit more of that kind of raked look that I'm going for. But it gives you a good idea of what it looks like. So one of the things that I need to do before I can put the truck back together and actually drive it is address the transmission. So the original thing that actually basically started this entire thing was that the clutch line got crushed. So I had someone make a like a little line that moves it to a different location so that this won't get crushed again. So that aspect of this has been corrected. But in the process of correcting this and separating the engine and trans, I got my first look at the inside of the bell housing, because actually I never separated the engine and trans when I built the truck because there was really no reason to. Came out of a running and driving vehicle and everything worked just fine, so why would I? Obviously this changed that, so we pulled it apart, and this is the throwout bearing that I found that was in there. Now, it's okay, but if you listen to it, it's pretty worn out. It's not bad. It's not, you know, shot. It's not making horrible noises. You can tell it spins okay. There's not like anything necessarily wrong with it, but it is decidedly showing its age. It's a little worn. So, not a big deal. What I'm going to do is we're going to replace this. We got to reattach the different fittings, because the GTO and the Camaro and stuff, they use different fittings. And the GTO throwout bearing, if you try to buy the correct one, is like nearly impossible to find. But it's the same exact throwout bearing as a Camaro. It's just got different fittings on the end. So you just swap the fittings from this one over to the standard, you know, generic T56 throwout bearing. So that's what I've got here. It's a little dirty because I've been handling it, and that thing is filthy. So this bearing is obviously not a skateboard wheel. It's you know, doesn't spin super quickly, but that's what you want. That means that this has got grease in it. It's got lots of life left in it. It's in good condition, obviously. This is what you want. This, even though it seems like a good bearing, is actually not what you want. So we're going to put this thing in, just make sure it's fresh. The other thing is I took this transmission to a transmission shop and just kind of went and asked them some advice. It's always been a little bit hard to shift. I thought maybe the synchros were getting worn out, and I was kind of curious what a rebuild would cost, which was quite a bit more than I was hoping it was going to be. But one thing he noticed is that there's like kind of too much grease on the input shaft here. And what he was saying is that actually it means that sometimes if there's too much grease, it won't let the clutch engage properly. I don't totally understand how that works, but I'm guessing it has to do with the fact that if the grease is too thick on there, the friction disc can't fully move out of the way, because obviously it's sliding on this input shaft. So what we're going to do is clean this up and get the grease off. He said you do want some grease, but it should be a really light coating, like super light. Less is more. Because this has got some buildup on it from having too much grease. You can kind of see how dirty my fingers are just from handling that. So we're going to get it cleaned up. That way this is all nice and fresh. I am going to reuse the old clutch because it looks like it's still got some decent life left on it. Hopefully I'm right. And I'm not finding myself doing this again soon. But clutches are expensive, so this was expensive. And by the way, if anyone's curious, I ended up going with a nicer quality throwout bearing. This is made by Holley. I got the box right here. The part number is 319100. I figure when it comes to stuff like this, where it's getting mounted inside the transmission, bell housing, don't cheap out. Get something that's good, because you do not want to be pulling this off again, quickly. So we're going to put this thing back together, cleaned up, and swap out the lines. And hopefully today we're going to marry this thing back to the engine, put them back together, and maybe, if we're very lucky, stab an engine and transmission back into the truck and get ready to go back on the road. So let's get to work.